All right, so we've had ChatGPT, we've had deep faking of video, and now we've got deep faking of audio. When you combine this, it just means a big world of trouble ahead. Hi, everybody. I'm Keith Shaw, host of Today in Tech. Today, we are going to talk a lot about fake stuff, fake audio, fake video, de-aging, all of this stuff that's now snowballing into this world of potential problems, especially when you combine that with some of the generative AI stuff that's coming out from ChatGPT, Google, and Microsoft, and we've got a lot of problems ahead. So joining me to sort of dissect a lot of this is Tom Talley. He's the author of the book AI Basics, which covers deep learning, machine learning, natural language processing, and he's got another book coming up on generative AI. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Hey, that's really good timing that you're going to be writing a book about generative AI. It's like, news comes out almost like every 10 minutes about new stuff that people are doing.
Yeah, I have to rewrite it every day.
It's going to be generating a book, right? That's the future of publishing. Are you sure you just can't have ChatGPT write the book for you? I mean, heck, right?
Yeah, I can't disclose those top secrets right now, but I don't know how anyone could tell anymore. It looks so good.
Yeah, and so again, the news that I wanted to kick us off was there was earlier this week there was a report that basically there's a company called 11 Labs, which was founded by ex-Google and Palantir staffers, and they said that they had found an increasing number of voice cloning misuse cases during its recently launched beta, which can basically imitate the voice of anybody if you upload a sample clip. And so, of course, the lovely folks at 4chan were basically using this and abusing it by making celebrities say fake things. And, some of them were racist, some of them were dirty. It's really kind of ugly. So the company is now trying to crack down on it. But of course, when this story comes out, the first thing I did was I went to 11 Labs and signed up for one of their things because we were curious about their technology. I thought that they would just shut it down, but they're like, no, you get a free trial for $5 a month. You can do this with anybody. Chris, do you want to bring up? Oh, actually, I'm gonna bring it up on my computer. We took my voice and basically recreated me doing the State of the Union speech. So here we go. We're going to listen to me as if I was giving the State of the Union. And I said none of this in any sort of recording.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. You can smile. It's okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, please. Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, good to see you guys up there, members of Congress.
Again, this is not me.
Chief Justice, I may need a court order. She gets to go to the game tomorrow next week. I have to stay home. We got to work something out here. Members of the cabinet, leaders of our military, Chief Justice, Associate
So all I have to do is now fake this with my voice.
Justices of the Supreme Court. And to you, my fellow Americans, I start tonight by congratulating the 118th Congress and the new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
All right,
Speaker,
so
I don't want to ruin
that's enough. I don't need to sound like congratulating the world of politicians. But again, this was a sample audio clip of me, and I think Chris grabbed it from one of our other shows, and we put it into this and it generated this thing in like 3 minutes. No, not even 3 minutes. It was like 30 seconds that it generated this clip. I can type in anything I want. I just copied and pasted it from the State of the Union. You could actually then use ChatGPT to create some other fake text and then put that in and then have me say it. It's like, so is this surprising to you at all, having covered sort of this world of AI? Is this something like the barn door's open and we can't shut it back down? Like, what are you hearing out there, Tom?
No, it's not a surprise. And, in fact, voice systems for AI were some of the first systems created using AI back in the 50s from Bell Labs and IBM. So this is an area of research that's gone on for decades.
Yeah.
Now, with deep learning and all these new innovations, and also the accessibility to data has put it on steroids. And we've seen that accelerate in the past couple of years. But even a couple of years ago, I talked to a startup that cloned my voice. It took about 10, 15 minutes to clone my voice. Now, it wasn't, it's getting better and better.
Right.
And you can tell also with your clip, it sounded like you.
Yeah.
But it didn't have the emotion or, so if I type in something, I would want to say, make it feel angry or, make it feel optimistic, or I want this section to feel this way or to sound this way, and to describe it more and see how the system works doing that.
Yeah, again, we uploaded it about 10 minutes before we started recording this. And again, it was all one voice inflection. It was like, hello, everybody, this is Keith Shaw, and I'm here to say that, and it was really fast. Now, Chris always tells me I talk too fast anyway, so maybe the AI knew that, and it was like, oh, he's speaking really fast, so we should just imitate that. But at least I can go up or down, and then I also, stutter a lot sometimes when I forget what I'm saying, or I use ums and ahs. So you could put that in the text, I suppose, and then you would get that inflection and you would get that stuttering. So again, I think, I'm say, here we go. This is how you can tell it's me. If I worked on that, I could probably make that sound a lot better than it does. But,
right.
I want to bring up the other article that we saw this week. This was Variety, and they had interviewed Harrison Ford, and he's got the Indiana Jones 5 movie coming out, and everybody that wants to go see this movie knows that Harrison Ford is age 80, and they need to de-age him, and we've seen a lot of de-aging in movies. And again, it's not, I don't know if this is AI or not, but there is technology that makes you look younger than you really are. Now, in this article, he admits that this is his actual face that they're going to be showing in this movie, because they had a lot of older clips from Lucasfilm that never actually made it to the screen, and he had different inflections and emotions and things like that. So I think that they're trying to say that this is not going to be it's not going to be AI so much as it's just computer generated sort of de-aging. What's your thoughts of de-aging? Is that something it's sort of a good use, or is it not sort of a good use of this technology? Do you have an opinion on this? Yeah.
It's, we, like you said, and he was on the Colbert Show too, Harrison Ford, and he mentioned that there are so much film of him that's never been seen. So I think it's kind of fun that there's all this film of actors out there, and how can we use that to create some cool content? I think that's an opportunity for Hollywood, but at the same time, it raises the question of, maybe we should give new actors and young actors a better chance instead of having someone who's had all these great hits, and maybe give someone else a chance, and because we could create this immortality that just kind of goes on ever and ever, because Hollywood wants to make more and more money off the same actors.
When you take a lot of that deep fake technology from a video perspective, and then you add this new technology that can clone a voice, now all of a sudden you can use the text to basically create whatever you want in terms of video and audio sort of impersonations. The first thing that we thought of is after Harrison Ford passes away, you could end up with Indiana Jones 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, using the footage that, that they have, use the voice that he has and all of that kind of stuff. And then you can even have an AI write the script at some point, because you're going to get a ChatGPT script writer. As long as it comes up with a decent plot, it'll be a completely computer generated movie without any sort of real actors that are alive. And, and I'm sure a director at some point will be replaced in terms of edits. I don't know. Is that a good thing? Again, I don't think it's necessarily great. Especially, I remember the uproar that happened when they did a TV commercial for a vacuum, and Fred Astaire was dancing with a vacuum cleaner. I don't know. I would think that if I was famous, I wouldn't want to have my likeness used in any sort of future AI thing. I wonder if that's going to happen.
Well, I'm sure lawyers are going to make a lot of money off of this.
Somehow the lawyers always do, yeah.
That's right. They're going to start rewriting some of these contracts. Back when Indiana Jones was created in 1980, there were some pretty cool special effects. Nothing compared to, I don't think anyone thought we could do what we're doing today back then. But, the contracts then did not anticipate using someone's likeness and AI and generative AI and creating new films with him not even having to be there. So I think, this has so many different ramifications, legal just being one of them, ethically is the other too. I think, maybe we should disclose if, this, it'd be clear if the actor is no longer with us,
right,
that somehow, they use AI. but I do think there needs to also be disclosure that this is content that was created by using other content and it's not real.
So moving beyond sort of the celebrity angle of this, the other things I started thinking of was, well, if I'm a bad guy, if I'm a hacker, if I'm trying to get money out of someone, or the phishing emails and things like that have taken off in terms of getting people to click on things and ransomware, and there are certain ways that we can sort of detect a lot of that stuff. But now imagine I can create a voicemail message of my boss, who then sends it to say I'm a chief financial officer. I've got access to the checkbook. I get a voicemail from someone that says it's my boss, and it's now faked audio or a faked video and audio. And it says, oh, I'm stuck in a jail in Nigeria, and, send me money. Like that, or, that sounds really bad. And do you think, obviously, are we going to sort of start seeing these types of scams?
It's already happened. The first example of this was,
wow, really?
It has. It's in the Wall Street Journal. 2019 is when it happened. It was in Europe. A UK CEO got a call from the CEO of their parent company, and they said, we need $250,000 within 1 hour. We need to send it to Hungary or some supplier in Hungary. And it had a German accent. It sounded just like the CEO, and the other CEO said, okay, I'll wire the money. And it went to Hungary, and then went to some other place that they couldn't trace it. So it's the first example of AI spoofing that resulted in a breach. I'm sure this has probably happened other times, but companies usually don't like to publicize these.
Yeah,
types of events,
you could also impersonate sort of a world leader and like destabilize a country, right? Like, maybe this is already being used by some of those 3-letter agency out there. And of course, now I've got to really be careful about what I say, because people are going to fake my voice and say that I actually said something that I didn't. Even it's troubling. It's troubling to me if I just like say I don't like Chris anymore behind the buttons there on my computer because he keeps telling me to do stuff that I don't want to do. All I have to do is secretly record him. Well, actually, I've got recordings of him because he's been on the show. And then I just send that, and then I send it to my boss and go, Chris said this to me. I don't know. We're gonna start seeing people getting fired over this unless you can prove that it wasn't you, right?
Yeah, how many people are on YouTube talking, and there's your training set. And there's a new system called Valley or Volley. I don't know.
Yeah, this was the Microsoft thing, right? Yeah,
exactly. And it can train with a 3-second snippet.
It's down to 3 seconds now. Wow,
it's down to 3 seconds. So, it's not perfect, obviously, but it does a pretty good job considering it's only 3 seconds. So you don't even need a lot of training data to make this work. So someone who's maybe not out there in the open as much can still be vulnerable to these types of attacks. And these attacks could be scaled, using these AI, over a broad spectrum. And I also think the other thing too is when you hear someone's voice, you just think it's true. If you hear someone you've talked to for a while,
right,
and that's they have a certain relationship of trust and so forth, you just versus someone, maybe I get an email and I'm not too sure, who's that? Is that really from my boss? It doesn't sound like something he'd say, but if it's a voice and especially a video, it just takes it to another level. And there are detection systems, but it's not like, these companies getting, look at how we are with cybersecurity. A lot of companies still are so far behind. So these cutting edge things, a lot of companies will probably just not be prepared for them.
Yeah, there's an article that you sent me this week from TechCrunch, and Chris, can you bring that up? The basically there's a technology of an inaudible watermark that could identify AI generated voices by a company called Resemble AI, and they've got a proposal out there. At least it looks like that technology will work to sort of detect that. But then it's another level of security that companies are going to have to think about, depending on what happens to them. I think it's going to be one of those cases where someone's going to get tricked. Someone's going to end up, sending a lot of money to someone when they shouldn't have because of this faking. And then you'll start seeing more and more tools that kind of come out to try to detect this stuff. I kind of want to hide in a hole now for a while, just because this sounds so scary. Like, is that where you think things are? Oh, when you talk to people sort of in the industry that are doing natural language processing and voice recognition and things like that, are they aware of these problems, or do they just sort of say, "Oh no, people will never do that," or like what do they say about this technology? Because it feels like this is running away from us, and we're not going to be able to get a hold of a handle on this.
Yeah, I think there's two parts of that. I mean, the Microsoft Volley paper is a 15-page paper. It's a very academic, and in there they do talk about the importance of responsible AI and making sure this is used for good purposes and putting in guardrails. So I think the larger companies understand that. They're under a lot of pressure from regulators or potential regulation. But if I'm a startup, do you think some kids, that came out of Stanford who are creating some technology probably even thinks about this stuff? I mean, they're brilliant, but
yeah,
but they want to create some cool technology and get some funding, and that's probably such a low priority to them. And they may even think, some of these things, these use cases that go a little awry can create some buzz and publicity for them. So I think the incentive structure is set up in such a way that, for the bigger companies, I think they will do probably, a decent job, but there'll be so many of these startups. And this technology is becoming so widely available, through these APIs. I mean, I can just, anyone who doesn't even have a lot of technical capability can start using this technology.
What is some of the good use cases then? Because it feels like normally we think of a lot of good use cases, and then we think, oh, maybe some of these bad use cases are on the edge, or that won't happen. But in this case, it just feels like everything could be used for bad purposes. What are some of the good uses of sort of cloning a voice and things like that?
Well, I mean, if someone can't hear, there's systems that can translate voices into text. So people who are, have certain, disabilities can benefit from this technology. I think companies are looking at this as a way to scale their operations. So, with COVID, we had just this, these problems where, customer service organizations were inundated, but with the generative AI, you could have customer service done on a 24/7 basis. You can still have people do the hard, very complicated work, but for some of the easier types of questions, the AI can, do that. So I think there's a big opportunity there. On the fun stuff, I mean, music. I like Queen, Freddie Mercury, and wouldn't it be cool to just kind of create some new Queen songs? I don't know. I would probably buy those if they were good. Make sure that the Freddie Mercury estate gets his share. And have you heard good examples of music?
Like someone singing? I mean, because again, I just did a sample of me talking, and but can you do the same thing with someone singing?
Yeah. Google has a system. Yeah, has a system they launched last year that's pretty good. That can create some really good music and sounds, and they have all these different libraries of different sounds and so forth. And some of it could just be like how to make a really cool video that has cool background sounds. Stuff like that. I mean. I think there's a lot of cool use cases for that.
And so do you see this technology with the voice cloning and the voice AI merging with the generative AI from the world of ChatGPT and the text? Do you see that sort of coalescing together, and then who knows what's going to happen at that point?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the vision of OpenAI, it's artificial general intelligence, AGI. I mean, they want to create this super intelligence, and that's not just only about typing. That's visual. So they have, image systems, and they have the text with the ChatGPT and GPT-3 and so forth. And then voice, I think, is the other area. I think there's going to be next few years, a lot of innovation and developments, and bringing that together where you can interact with the AI any way you want. It should, and this is kind of what they call it multimodal AI.
Mm-hmm.
You can pretty much ask it anything and do it in any way you want, whether it be voice, visual, or typing in text as a chat.
And then if you then somehow get this technology and get it down and put it into a physical robot, for example, now you've got an actual robot that can understand what you're saying, talk back to you, give you information, and then it almost feels like this robot then can actually be not necessarily be alive, but that sort of frightens would frighten a lot of people too, because now you've added kind of a physical component to it as well.
Yeah, the Boston Robotics, they had a clip of some of their guys hitting with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
These robots. People were shocked at that. Because these robots had that humanistic kind of feel to them.
Yep.
And it felt like they were harming this. I mean, it's a machine. I mean,
right.
Let's face it. It's a machine. It's a bunch of mechanical stuff. But it looked like it was a human. Humanistic. And so it freaked people out, and they said, stop doing that. So, we can attach, we get attached to, look, if we lose our phone, we feel somehow less human.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like something is like so wrong with we panic, we have these, anxiety. We identify with these technology systems, and there's a lot of psychological studies about that,
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm abusive, but I don't like my Alexa voice companion, because it's always trying to tell me of all the other things. Like, it's trying to be too helpful. It's, I go, what time is it? And the Amazon Alexa goes, it's 4:24. Did you know that I could do this, this, and this? And I'm like, no, like, stop. Do not enable anything. I just want to know what the time it is. But if we start having a conversation with this thing, it might come back with, wow, you really hurt my feelings, Keith. Are you sure? And then I'd be like, oh my God, I feel guilty about yelling at this inanimate device. And so, but obviously if it was more helpful, maybe I wouldn't treat it so weirdly that I do. And then if it could start moving around and then start showing emotions to me, forget it. It's game over, right? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you saw the report with the Google employee researcher.
Oh, the one that claimed that we had reached in the singularity or something like that.
He thought the machine he was talking to was sentient and should have its own rights.
Oh, and then Google,
and he got terminated.
Yeah. I don't know if we're there yet. I still think that, people always would ask me like, oh, the robot uprising, it's going to happen. I go, well, we'll just be able to push it over or unplug it or turn, or some robots are really good, but they can only do that one thing all the time. So, but then Boston Dynamics keeps proving me wrong. Like, they have a robot that you can push over and it gets back up, or it can climb the stairs. It can open a door. It can do all these things. We're like, why are you making it do these things? We don't want them to do this. Yeah, it's an exciting world to be in, but it's also very frightening, especially when people can imitate my voice at the click of a button. And that's sort of what is surprising to me in this day and age. We've known that these tools have existed. I think what's happening now that sort of puts the fear in me is that how easy it is to do it. So that all I did to get my voice imitated and cloned, I just put in a credit card, subscribed to it, and then copied and pasted text and uploaded the sample of my voice. And boom, it was right there. And now I can now say anything, not anybody, but me, I can now create my own voice recording of me saying whatever I want instead of me saying whatever I want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
the speed and how easy it is now for an average everyday user to use it. And that's what frightens me, because again, you have scientists and you have people that have quote unquote ethics, and they're going to always do the right thing. But there's there's 5 billion people in this world, or however many billions, and there's a lot of people out there that are not so nice. And that's what worries me.
Yeah.
Does that worry you, or do you think we're going to sort of get there to a point where we can prevent the really bad stuff from happening?
Well, I look at it as, we do have precedent for this. I mean, email, for example. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to email.
Yeah.
But we use it. It's created a lot of value for our society, I would say. But it's a threat vector. I mean, as the cybersecurity people like to say, and it's one that no matter, we've had email for decades and we still can't figure out, a lot of times phishing or ransomware, and you would think we'd figure this out.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the same thing, but it'll probably be tougher because it's hard to figure out. I mean, you're too young, but there's a commercial in the '80s that is it real or is it Memorex?
I'm not too young. I do remember that. Right. And that was just talking about a cassette recorder, tape recorder, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was a great commercial, but it's like, what is real and what is not? Am I talking to a real person or not? So again, with the email, a lot of times you can kind of, through maybe some common sense, figure it out. But as this technology gets more sophisticated, it's hard to do that. Now, we could say that maybe regulation will help deal with this. Regulation is just slow.
Yeah.
And then whose standards are we going to use? I mean, China has a different view of, this technology than the US versus Europe versus other countries. So, I think we're probably I think we're kind of in this intermediate zone or fog of technology, and it's running so fast, and it's just very difficult for people to keep up with it, and to have protection. So I do think we're probably going to, in the next few years, I mean, this is just only going to probably get worse.
Yeah, and
unfortunately.
Yeah, and that sort of frightens me a lot. But at least if we're talking about it on shows like this and sort of bringing this out to a general audience, hopefully that they'll then talk about it and maybe ask questions, and again, hold the technology makers' feet to the fire. I'm reminded of that scene in Jurassic Park, where, again, when they were creating dinosaurs, and the Jeff Goldblum character goes, you had the power. I'm going to screw up the quote, but it's like, you knew you could do it, but you didn't ask why, or something like that. Like, I think more. Yes, you can create this great technology that clones a voice, but did you ask if we really needed it, especially with all of the bad lists of things? And even if you're only benefiting a few, like I think more scientists and technologists need to sort of adopt that Jeff Goldblum quote. Like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think
when people are reading your book and because again, the AI Basics book sort of explains sort of artificial technology or artificial intelligence to business users or regular people out there. What's like the biggest question that they ask?
Oh, business people?
Yeah, business people or just regular people on the street. Do they come up with you or do they just ask you the question of like, when are the robots taking over the world?
That's I think a lot of it is more job related, fears about what is this going to mean for me, and will I be replaced by a computer? I think that's a very common question, and that makes automation difficult in the workplace, and we're seeing a lot more of that because Chipotle's been talking about robots. Chipotle's been introducing some robots, and I haven't seen it. I go to Chipotle a lot, but I know that I think there's just, especially now we see ChatGPT and some of these technologies firsthand. People are thinking maybe this is going to happen sooner than I thought it would.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big questions I get is, how this will impact their livelihood.
Yeah, I think maybe it'll bring back face-to-face, sort of a lot more face-to-face interaction between people because, from a human perspective, I know that someone is in the room rather than maybe a fake generated image that's on a Zoom call or a voicemail message. I also think that probably from the security side of things, you'll start seeing, again, two-factor authentication or, again, people really confirming. It's like, did you really just send me that video or did that voicemail, and sort of double or triple confirming it. So, some great stuff and some very, very scary futures. Hopefully, we've talked enough about it so that people developing this stuff will think a couple of seconds before they start doing it. Tom, that's all the time we've got today. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
All right, and I'm going to close with fake me doing my closing since it's so much better than me.
That's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and add any comments you have below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
And of course, Chris tells me that that's better than what I normally do. All right. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thank you.